Well, hello everyone. Oh my God, I am so excited to see you all wherever you are, you angels, you divine beings, miracle makers around the world. We have an amazing show today. We have a guest here who's going to actually teach you how you can touch, feel, see, and know the angels. So, not only the angels, but Mary, Sai Baba, Buddha, Christ. We are going to have a wonderful show. I'm your host, Joan of Angels. If you are new to our show, please like, subscribe, and share. We are always really happy to see you. We just love that you play with us on these realms. So I'm going to get right to it and introduce our guest. And by the way, our other host, you're actually live with Out of This World with Joan and Alan. And Alan will be back in a couple of minutes. So you'll actually see him appearing like an angel onto the show. So, our guest today, Michael Andre Ford, he's an American angel intuitive. And he says we can hear and see angels, Mary, Sai Baba, and Buddha with our American angel intuitive, Michael Andre Ford. On our next episode, guys, we're going to be showing all of this today. He has a special gift as a photographer of angels, fairies, and other divine beings, which I think is so special that he can share these images with us. So he is known all over the world, actually. He's been on countless shows. He has quite a story. He's extremely renowned. His work really has taken him all over the world, teaching about angels. We can call him Michael, like the Archangel Michael. He grew up on the East Coast. He has quite a story. He didn't start off his life seeing angels, and yet now he photographs them and talks about them. And so I think we'll just bring him on and let him tell us how he got to this place. All right. So, Michael, Archangel Michael is what I keep hearing, embodying these very, very high frequencies. You look angelic because we both have that beautiful silver white hair. But I'm so grateful that you came on the show with us today. How are you?
Oh, good. Joan, great to see you again, and looking forward to seeing Alan too when he gets back on.
Well, he's out of this show right now, but he's coming. I'm trying to play on these words. So, Michael, I think before we start, I always sometimes love to have a little prayer or an invocation with people. And I know in the back room with Tina and I, you were showing us how you sort of share these energies. And do you want to start off by kind of taking us through that? And then we really want to get into how you stepped into this energy. You didn't really have a life that we would have said was angelic necessarily, and now you're photographing them and you're going worldwide with this. So we want to hear your story.
Sure. And I'd just point out, look, this is a big topic for a lot of folks listening. They're all over the world. They've got all types of cultural backgrounds. They've had their own experiences, or they think they can have their own experiences. I'm just going to go really easy and go to 100,000 feet up and say, this is just about a little more love, a little more gentleness in the present moment. Anyone or everyone has those Jedi skills. You just have to get to here. Now, for some of us, we've been adulting way too much. And so it could be decades to actually let go and drop back to the childlike heart that you've never lost, but you'd never believe it. So it's kind of a contradiction. We got that duality going on. So this is going to sound like a lot, but people get to do actual listening, full on, private. I don't get into the questions. I don't get into the answers. They're in their heart. All languages spoken, all dialects. They get hugs. The hugs can become healing. Colorblind people have seen color. And then full on seeing. And I'm going to add one more thing. Seeing angels as full on human beings and even going for a walk with them. One woman in the Caribbean has done that. So she almost wins the Nobel laureate in my world. But I've got another gentleman who's spent a couple hundred hours with me who it just doesn't get phased. He's the most gracious. He's bring it on. Let me meet more angels and more guides, more Native American chiefs, more figures from India. Fairies exist. And I got to mention a jinn, light beings like Seth. We all know the nature of reality, the 1970s kicking off the whole new age woo-woo-woo thing. Jane Roberts, I think. You can meet Seth, but you can meet other light beings. And that should be enough to rock the whole Medi, SETI, UFO community, and especially, the Jeremy Corbells and so on. But remember, we're all doing our own version of reality. And so do we have the space and time to actually call a timeout, ditch our thinking, and want to do any of these introductions? Maybe in 20 years, maybe in 10 years, if I do my job right, this will be a more popular thing, to do your own listening and get any answers to any questions.
Okay, well, people here a lot of people are trained to ask for help from outside. And, even some people say, well, when you call in your angels, you're asking for help from outside. But let's start with, how did you become like this photographer of these orbs and these angels and Sai Baba and Buddha? Like, I want to know how we can all learn how to do that. Yes. How did this begin?
Well, out of panic. I mean, I started hearing and seeing and feeling, and this would be around 2010, 2011, 2012, somewhere in there. I was in New York City for 20 years or so, corporate Wall Street, the first couple of years, public relations after that. So I started representing executive recruiters, law firms, venture capitalists. And then with the whole 9/11 thing, I went in-house. I had my own PR agency at one point, but I went in-house with the law firms. I was at a 28th largest law firm in America, like NASCAR. Then I got poached to Formula One, to a top 10 $billion revenue law firm. I peaked out at like 230 grand a year for salary. I was doing 1,100 media interviews personally out there in a single year. So I put people on the front page.
As an attorney?
No, as a publicist. I put people on the front page.
Okay.
Yeah. I put people on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, back on CNN when CNN was normal, Fortune. So I was the go-between. I had an expert, usually an attorney, but sometimes a congressman, the OECD Secretary General, various high-profile folks, and then a journalist on the other side. So I was a matchmaker, and I have a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. Everyone in New York thought I was from California. And long story short, the Lehman crisis came along, and I got laid off in a third round of stealth layoffs with 72 others, an hour's notice. And I went straight to my brand new home in Austin, Texas, with no game plan. And I started seeing, hearing, and feeling. And it was the shock of the layoff and a couple other little things that kind of popped me out of thinking. I realized, and I've always been, hopefully, for the most part, a pretty high energy, happy guy. But the bottom line is, I didn't know much then. I don't know much now. And I had to claim my space, fill my house, put stuff on the walls, start cooking more color. I started growing stuff. Like, I used to kill every plant, no more. I learned how to garden. I grew flowers. I took photos of flowers. But when I started to see balls of light, and how I had a lot of little like kahuna-like experiences, 3:30 in the morning getting woken up, I'm the guy who rolls over in bed and skips it. And then the next night I got up, even if I made it to my living room getting woken up in the middle of the night, I would flip the TV on to avoid the lesson. I would watch MTV, or I'd watch an old black and white movie, but the black and white movie would be an angel movie, or the music video would be lyrics like this: hello, hello, hello. I just came by to say hello. And that was my guardian angel finding a way to make it humorous and to reach me regardless. My cat Macy, was braver than I. She would trot out to the living room every time when I was rolling over in bed. I'm not the best student, but while I'm a slow learner and everything, it's taken me 6 months to 2 years to learn, I teach people like that. So stuff that you did pre-show might have taken me 6 months, but most people just do it in 10 seconds. So I'm a fast teacher, slow learner. And I would describe it this way: deer and 70 million headlights 10 years ago, now 69.9 million.
Well, okay. So I'm going to get a word in edgewise here. I already figured, they already told me exactly why you were chosen for this job, which is because you actually had so many media contacts that they wanted to go global. They wanted this to go global and worldwide. So they weren't going to take a relatively unknown. They took you because you actually, like, I can tell you just like leaped out with this and that's why you've been going worldwide with the angelic realms and this ability to see into these other dimensional realms, which is so important for us.
Sure. Right. And look, it's all going to sound like a lot. And I know half your audience, 2/3, most of your audience is accustomed to hearing all sorts of topics. But for anybody just stumbling in on this, just picture it this way. We're human. We've got thinking. That gets in the way of a lot of stuff. Thinking's not going away. It's our opportunity for growth. We all have room for expansion and growth. But picture beings just beyond the human experience that are unconditional love. No interference unless you ask. So if you're not into this, you're okay. But for those who are game, just be like, hey, I could use a little help. And that's one-way communication that we all do.
We could all use a lot of help.
Yeah.
The planet needs help right now. Each and every one of us does. So I think this is so timely.
And the question, what will you allow for? So it's nice I've got all the photos. I used a little Sure Shot camera as sort of in panic mode to take photos. And I was very fortunate and given, thousands of photographs. I use maybe 50 or 60 of them for helping folks. You look at a photograph, you calm down, get to your heart, you ask, you listen, you ask, you get a hug. Photos can move and change color. Historical photos can wink and smile. So for anybody wanting to right now, just pop over to my website. It'll be flashing wherever. It's on the screen. Find on the first page, photos of angels, the silhouette of the angel. You can put your hand out. You can feel the vibe. But if you use the Audrey Hepburn photograph, an angel, she'll wink, smile, nod, eyebrow goes up in a static photo. We know photos can't move, but this is really about no limits. And if there are really no limits, maybe there are really no limits. So what will you allow for? Head over to the website. My only suggestion for an aid is like a Boy Scout pledge. Just put your hand on your heart. You don't have to do that, but ask angels to get you out of your head, into your heart, and to make it nice. Own it with a thank you, amen, rock and roll, Om Sai Ram. And that is it for my structure. I mean, pen and paper is nice to write down your answers. And the record there is 48 pages of answers, 9 hours in Australian. I don't hang around for 9 hours.
Well, okay. Look who is here with us. And I was just about to ask you if you want me to show the website a little bit. Here's Alan. Okay, here's our angel.
Sorry I'm late. I had a big meeting with a famous astronomer, Avi Loeb, if you know who he is.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And we were talking about the extraterrestrial phenomena, but Joan was much more qualified than me to talk about angels, because she, of course, is Joan of Angels. So, Joan, what did you discover from Michael while I was gone?
Well, here's what I discovered. That the angels knew that Michael would be able to go worldwide and global to bring the angelic forces, the celestial realms, and really kind of help people see them more and help people become more aware, because I think they knew we were going to go into difficult times and we needed this kind of being able to connect with our guides and angels. And so I think you are the perfect person, and that's what we've been getting into.
Well, how do we actually connect with I guess he went over that with you. Sorry I was late.
Oh, you think he did it that fast? Just like that? Are you kidding?
What? Well, I want to connect with our angels. I'm connecting with Joan. She's my angel. So
exactly.
Well,
so people just make a simple request. Literally, you ask angels to help you out of your head, into your heart, and own it with, setting your intent, own it with an amen, rock and roll, thank you. That's about it for my entire bit of structure. I have the photographs of angels, fairies, Play-Doh. I use those as sort of a prop to get people started. Actual photos of angels. They're on my website. We put them up earlier. But you look at the photo, you ask, you listen, you hear a little whisper. It's Alex's voice for 1 second. The second you let go, real personality kicks in. And then I help people take like 60 little baby steps. One action, though, could be 30 of those steps. It depends on how much letting go they're doing. But they're getting to their heart. It's like a good cup of coffee. How do you know? How do you know the good cup of coffee tastes good? There's just something to all this that's beyond words, beyond structure, beyond what we're accustomed to. And yet, this is how you get any answer to any question, get hugs. And then you start to see at a light energy level around the room, balls of light, glitter, sparkles, a million different shapes. And then when you're ready, look out your window, look out your door. If you're really gutsy, look in your room and see angels standing there. I've had show hosts see an angel like standing over my shoulder or balls of light.
Are we going to do that right now? Can we?
It's up to you. What will you allow for is the question.
Well, up for it. Yeah, let's do it.
Just let it be during the conversation here. And we before the show went on, both Tina and Joan got to partake just a little bit.
Well, why don't we start with you sending us the sage?
Sure.
And let's work. And this is good for Alan, because I don't know if he likes to be in a room with sage, but I think this will be good because it won't be as strong, but it'll be, you'll smell it.
So, Alan, you've already been having good conversations with Avi. Just go ahead and give yourself permission to let go. If anybody wants to ask their higher self to assist, do it. But my only gig is angels. You might as well ask them as well to make it nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll catch this one of a dozen different ways. Some people taste it on their mouth, leave your mouth a little bit open. I'm getting a nice flame going. And I'll tell one dad joke that hopefully you haven't heard, because if you're laughing, you know you're in your heart. What do you call a baby camel born with no humps? Hump-free.
Oh.
And just say when you catch a little bit of sage. Joan, you're already getting it?
I'm laughing so much, though. Okay.
Well, I could imagine the sage. Does that help?
Oh, I
It
think
does.
I just caught a little whiff, little subtle whiff.
There you go.
Can the people in our audience smell this too?
Yeah, I've done this on shows in Australia, New Zealand, Germany, Canada, US, and audience members will report in, plus the studio staff. Tina and Joan did this same thing before the show, and Tina got it as well. And if it's
let's ask
recorded,
our audience too. Let us know if you smell, what you're smelling, and we're
How
going to
does
be
it
doing
get
a few
through the
exercises. So
screen?
hey, remember, wasn't it Einstein or somebody who said no time, no space? So if there are no limits in life, you knew it as a kid, maybe there are really no limits. That's what this is all about. So you do have to allow for something beyond what the mind, the linear mind, is going to allow for. Remember your book. Throughout your book, there were 12 or I know, I hate your book. You should have seen my household wondering, why am I reading a book? I never read books. And
Wow.
I was on my way to Hawaii, and I've got to give a plug to Alan's book for the audience. I hit that thing and I read it so fast. It's got a lot of great, very famous people doing chapter by chapter. But
Thank
you
you.
literally hit on a lot of the critical tenets of everything I do at this end.
Yes, there
Yeah.
it is. Norm.
My
But
favorite
thank you.
quote.
Why don't you write me a review? Hold it up again, Joan, so everyone can see it. There you go. Well,
Making
I
contact.
appreciate that. And thanks for connecting me with your friend Paula as well.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. She's jumping from radio to radio and TV, so you're gonna make sure you're getting both of those. Don't do too soon for the interview. I would add, so look, people can meet angels, people can meet fairies, they can meet passed over relatives and pets, they can meet light beings, which should intrigue a lot of folks because in the UFO community there's aliens, and then I'm gonna just stick to the unconditional love spectrum. So think more light. And think light beings to me are more like whales, and angels are more like dolphins. Seth, you can talk to Seth. There's an angel light being named Grace. And they can, I think a lot of the light being community thinks chandelier pinpoints the lights, and you're not going to get any like personality. You're not going to get a physical version, but you can get a physical version. You're really having to let go and trust everything. And that's where I'm good at helping you just see your aura on your hands, seeing light, blowing sage through, helping you suspend your disbelief so that you can trust your heart. Your heart is like a Jedi Knight. You've got all the capabilities and skills to allow your boundaries to get pushed out, connect to the universe one-on-one, and to go, I don't know what to call it, full unconditional love, full connecting to everything, all with a capital A.
Well, maybe Joan asked this question, but how you were kind of a regular guy, I think. How did you wake up to the angel reality?
Sure. And look, I mentioned this earlier, the layoff at $1 billion law firm in New York. I was in New York for 20 years. But, in the 70s, Oprah was my local broadcaster on a news station before she got famous and did all the self-help and spiritual work. I would fail any test. I skipped half my Plato reading in Middlebury College, my political science major. And I met Plato's part of the crew, and I got a little ribbed for skipping the reading. The point of this is you don't have to know anything. You don't have to have a certain background. You don't have to go to Machu Picchu. You can meet figures from India, no problem. Vishnu, Krishna, Ganesh, Sai Baba, Sri Kaleshwar, Lakshmi, and so on, Rama. But this is eyes open, and it's also eyes closed. You can get a guided meditation, 30 seconds with me, but angels take over and make it nice. India comes to you. You sit with India figures, but that doesn't mean angels aren't present. And Hollywood wardrobed out in India garments. And it doesn't mean your relatives aren't present, but they're parked further back so you don't get too distracted. It's all like Burger King, the 1980s, have it your way. So if you're coming from an Indian cultural background, you're going to get it that way. If you're Catholic, you're going to get it the Catholic way. I generally don't get folks who come in though and are like, oh no, I never want to meet any India figures. It's usually, you have to be super open to even get to me in the first place.
What was the first moment you connected with an angel? That's what I want to hear.
Oh, sure. I'll just give one little example. I had a lot of little stuff happening in my new house in Austin, Texas. An angel named Joy, who I held up her photo earlier, when she first showed, it was like a pink Roman candle out of a Disney movie. The carpeting in my living room, maybe this big, a big pink whoosh, like a Roman candle, shot out of the floor through the ceiling. And I hear a hello and hi, I'm Joy. And I was just dumbstruck. And then seconds later, another pink whooshing candle. And, yeah, you're left for 3 or 4 months wondering what the heck you just saw. But there's lots of little experiences like that. And I mentioned earlier, before you got on the show, you can see angels in full-on human form. So they can sort of beam in, not disrupt anything too much. And you can even have interactions with them that way, full-on human form. Not just seeing in your backyard and chatting at a distance and seeing, Jesus, Archangel Michael, Joy the Angel, and Audrey Hepburn. But you can actually see angels in human form. And lots of folks
know that they exist in order for them to help us, because that's what people.
There's no interference. Think of Joseph Campbell in The Power of Myth. You're perfectly good. You're living a great life as it is. You don't have to do any of this. Don't bother. But on the other hand, if you're game or you're open and you could use a little help, any answers to any questions, hugs, healing, and more. Some stuff's written though. Some stuff's not. If you don't ask, you don't get. So they're available, but it's take it or leave it, really. It's constant love. And think of love as a constant. And think of our typical lives, not talking angels or light beings or anything else. We're on iPhones and devices quite a bit, except for in Mexico. And when we come home from
Even
work,
here.
yeah, but when we come home from work, half of us are glued to the iPhone and we don't say hi to the dogs or cat as well as we should. Or if it's kids, how much are we really saying, I love you in a typical day? How much are we actually dealing in love? Most of the time it's thinking unlove. I'm not knocking thinking. I'm not saying it's all negativity, but a lot of it's a waste of energy. And so there's something here and there's something here. And that's the starting point for a lot of people's journey, is the discovery of the difference in the vibe between up top and down below. Consciousness, awareness, unconditional love, universal love, whatever you want to call it. Thousands of terms, thousands of cultural terms, religious terms, philosophical, Plato's cave. But when you learn the difference here, that's when your journey starts. And that's when you can start hearing, feeling, seeing full on. It's much more available now. And this is something that's difficult for the wellness, holistic, woo-woo-woo spiritual communities to embrace. They're just not used to embracing full on. Like, kick me out of the way, kick the institutes out of the way, kick the researchers out of the way. And it's a little bit like what everybody cites, that, is it the physicist from the 1900s who says all the scientists have to die out before we get to the big discoveries. We're our own block, so to speak. The scientists themselves can block their own research. It's the same with every organization out there. This is limiting with the human thinking being involved.
But I like what you're going. I like where you're heading, because if the world was open to this, we'd live in a much more happy, peaceful, compassionate, loving world.
And I don't ask too many of the big picture questions, but one time I asked an angel named Dale, who coached an Olympic athlete, did the epilogue to Listening to Angels, that short little book. I asked him how fast, if everybody was gung-ho on the planet, like gung-ho, like wanting to do this, wanting to get their answers, wanting to be angels and beyond, how fast could it go for just more consciousness, more gentleness, more love? And it was 3 hours was the answer. Now, I think it's more like 30 years. Good luck with it. But because thinking doesn't go away. I know exactly where folks are at, or are skeptical or whatever on this. I was in their shoes. And I've flipped, and I'm much more easygoing about this. There's constant amazement, and you're just never going to figure any of this out. Try to grasp it all you want. Good luck.
Are they with you all the time? Like, are they just sort of beaming in and beaming out, or
yeah, you've got privacy though, so don't like, thinking's going to want to run with it and be like, oh my God, I'm a fish in a goldfish bowl. I've got no privacy. That's not it either. This is trans-dimensional channeling I do for interdimensional experience if you want to view it that way.
I was
It's-
looking through some
yeah.
of your pictures. If you can put it in the chat, I'll show some of those pictures. I just couldn't find them on your website.
Sure. It's and look, love is a constant, and that's what I was getting at is we have a way of tuning out because we're too busy with work or the tasks at hand. The rat race is thinking itself. It's not Chase Bank. It's not some big institution or that country or this country. And it's not the other people. So it's our thinking is the only block, the only limit to us letting go and having just an incredible experience. And let me say it a different way. You can be happy now in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. Good luck with that. But you have access to pure happiness, pure love in any moment, but everything else takes you away from it. Somebody threw litter on the beach, you see it and you're upset and you're no longer happy anymore. So sorry about that.
Well, let me ask you, Joan calls herself Joan of Angels. Do you see her angels? Because I think they're always with her, guiding her.
Well, angels are always with you. And my big thing is to help everyone turn on their skills. So I try not to tell anybody anything. I find that, I start a session with a person and I'm hearing and seeing a lot about them. I find it of zero value unless I need to just inch them along a little to tell them a single thing. It's like the dad who hogs the bike when they're trying to teach the kids versus the dad who lets the kid figure it out on their own. They're going to get twice or 10 times the value of that experience. So what I love about this is there's so many little baby steps you can take. The photographs will move. The photographs will give you a hug. Put your hand out to the photograph. The very first page of the website has a few angels, Geronimo, Sai Baba. Use Sai Baba's historical photo, but let him wink and smile or something in the photo and watch your reaction. The ego is going to say, I didn't just see that eyebrow go up or the smile. And that's your ego. This is partly about meeting and taming your ego and for once and for all, letting go of the control it has over your intake on reality.
Well, you're really talking about living in a magical world. This is like magic coming back to human beings, like the Avalon, King Arthur kind of, things are really magic. Things are real in a good way. Things are
Sure. But most kids get to live in that world. And then some people stay intact from their childhood and adulting doesn't cut them off. Think of Scrooge at the beginning of Christmas Carol. We're at that time of year. And it's a 79-page short book. We all remember Scrooge as the meanest guy on the planet. He's dental floss for a connection to life. That's it. And he is checked out as much as one can be checked out short of dying. But then he has, a 2-minute experience? They stretched it out movie-wise into an hour. And he comes around. And by the end of the book, we forget he's the biggest joy bringer, still a great businessman. And you'd want to run into him on the street. His vibe crosses the street that people are tipping their hats from across the street to him. That's how far out his presence is extended by the end of that book. And that's all this is your own authentic presence. If we go a little Buddhist, Tibetan stuff, it's your own wind horse. It's your own authenticity. It's your own connection. Because you can see your soul, eyes open in the sky. That's pretty cool. It's like Aurora Borealis, whatever it's called. You can close your eyes and walk the Akashic records. You can hear about your past lives. I always try to suggest not to get too caught up on that. I think the guided meditations are the best. Tibet comes to you. The Middle East comes to you. You sit. Maybe you share food with your eyes shut. It's angel time, dream time, Aboriginal, but 5 minutes of our time is 10 minutes over there. And guess what? Angels just know how to make it a ceremonial, flair the right way for the right person. Some people need healing. One woman got taught a Lakota Sioux song, and she had studied Lakota Sioux. I went to high school with her. I was blown away by that one. And she got to do a dance with Native American chiefs. Who does that?
Well, what if someone's having a hard time, like sometimes me or Joan and
like the rest of us.
like the
Kind of like the planet.
What's that little key to remember these beings are around us helping us? What's a little thing you give yourself?
Sure. You're not alone. You're always heard. Remember, I love like Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, the whole pivoting thing. Good luck telling somebody who's really feeling stuck and they've got significant pain. They've got real details, and it's hard to let go of those details because the mind's going to fixate on the situation. Ego, one of the top 10 lines from ego is "my problem is."
Right.
But positivity itself is abundance. This isn't about externals. And I'm not saying you can't get any answers for business, and people do that all the time. But there's something, a core level of cultivation in the moment, the now, your presence. It's what Seth said. This isn't about externals. This isn't about an institute or class. We're talking about going through your reality, what you know, through your heart. That's the doorless door, the gateless gate, the whole Zen thing. That's the entrance point into that interdimensional connection to the universe, to love. And that's why I love this, because love is such a constant that all you have to remember is that your thinking is the only thing that can cut you off from that love. It's in you tremendously. Smiling, breathing, taking a nap, going for a walk, touching a tree, barefoot on the grass. There's a million ways to rediscover getting from here to here. But for some people, that's a decades-long journey, or 2 lifetimes, 3 lifetimes.
Do you recommend that people try, I know that you captured a lot of these images. One thing down here is our Wi-Fi isn't so good, so I really couldn't find them. Okay, perfect. But can we, people who are listening, would it be easy for us to go and say, okay, Angel, I want to see you, and then use our camera and somehow capture them?
Yeah, I mean, the way I found it got easier to take photos is if I'm playing ball with my dog. If I take a photo and nothing's gone on and I'm not really present, maybe there's 1 or 2 angels in the distance. But if I'm playing ball with my dog and laughing hysterically because she's awesome, her name is Joy, named after that angel, the pink ball light I was just showing, then it's like snowflakes everywhere. It's a huge difference. And so if you danced a little,
and the
if you
question
have a
is
favorite
whether,
song,
a factor of 2 error in the starting time.
Oh,
I didn't do it.
Who are we channeling now from the other side? So do you
channeling on last interview? Sorry, it just went on.
Okay. So
But,
so do you feel like you have contact with the other side, or that there is this other side or veil, or?
Here's a concert and it's not raining, and I don't know how much it's going to glare here, but
can we make that full screen? That picture for who's
I could
directing
wait.
behind
Hold
the
on. There's an
scenes?
art form to making him solo.
Oh, there we go.
there we go.
Okay.
Where is that taking place?
That's in Austin, Texas at Stubbs Barbecue. Anybody traveling to Austin, make sure you look at their concert schedule. It's an incredible amphitheater for a couple thousand folks. Great venue. But that high vibe when you're really having a good time at a concert. This was Two Door Cinema Club, the Irish band, or it was M83, the French band, one of them. And a high vibe. We've all done the 70s, the 80s, the 90s in a concert. What do you think's going on? You're connecting to everything at once. And that high vibe exists. And it's really hard to allow yourself to let go with all that you know. We love holding on to concrete knowledge. We love holding on to what we think we know. We love holding on to our expertise. But the second you let go of everything and just relax, a good laugh, a good smile, a good hot shower, hand holding with someone, walking, connecting to nature. I mean, there's touching water, swimming. The second you let go is when you start to connect. It's so much simpler than people realize.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
So how do you do it?
Your enthusiasm is angelic. It's uplifting.
I'm very enthusiastic. That's the one word that is absolutely spot on here. But think about it this way. Angels are just here to help with mankind, a little more available than previously. You have to invite that help, though. What would be the point? Just like I don't like to tell anybody anything, it's so much better if you take your own steps. It's the same way for them helping us in our development, to just allow. Yeah.
Why are they more available now than previously?
It's in my appendix in my book, but I don't retain much. Let me try to think. It's where we are. We're ready for less rat race, less thinking, and more gentleness, more compassion. And I got to go on a tangent. We keep mentioning the world and all the messed up stuff, but remember that Wayne Dyer quote. Remember, complex people live in a complex world, and loving people live in a loving world, same world. It's a little bit of that. The one thing I've learned in 10 or 11 years, a couple thousand folks being helped. And again, remember, if people do this individually and they're comfortable with each other, they can have a joint experience, joint seeing, joint hearing, joint feeling. But what I was going to say is the one thing that I've really picked up in 10 or 11 years now is where you put your focus is where you put your focus. That's a safe sentence. But what I'm saying is you can spot my problem is, the problem is over there. John is a jerk. That country is a bad country. Or you can practice growing the flow of love that's universal, that's within you, around you, the force from Star Wars. And if you can practice that, that's the key that opens the door to your own soul development. It just accelerates it. You're already on some sort of path, whether it's this lifetime, next lifetime, last lifetime. You're on some trajectory. You're getting your lessons. It's just a question of how much do you want to pay attention? Maybe not for a decade, maybe not for 2 decades. I'm a slow learner, but everything's your instruction. Let's go Pema Chodron.
Wow.
So let's say that we all want to see angels. I'm assuming all of you guys out here are on because you'd really like to. Let's see Sai Baba. Like, how would we go about doing that?
Sure. You could just head over to the website, put your hand out to the photo, feel the energy first, feel a vibe. If you feel like you can't do it, I remember the first time I tried to use my hand, I watched a person close off my property using sage. I was still hiring someone else 10, 11, 12 years ago to clear my property in Austin because I didn't trust my own ability. And I got a chance before he closed off the property. He got to the corner, sage the whole property, but he hadn't closed it off. And he had a little girl come over and put her hand up, and she felt it before and the after. And I did this as well, but I'm like, is it working? I went to a candle later and I'm like, can I even feel heat? And then I got over the concept. So I actually let go to allow my hand. My body knew what to do. Your heart knows what to do. The brain just has a million little details, and I'm not sure, better not. Can we do this? How do we do this? It's got all the questions that get in the way. How do you go swimming? How do you take a hot shower and enjoy it? How do you listen to your favorite music and when you do this? How do you cook your favorite meal and how do you sing out loud? You just do it. No thought, pure action, pure heart, pure connection to all. And that's where I would argue that this is any athlete who's been in the zone, any artist, any musician, any pianist, anybody who's got any particular skill doing anything, even just reading a book and being lost in the book for 3 hours. That is suchness. That is samadhi. That is satori. That is letting go with no thought in the way. You're breathing life into everything you touch and do, or you're connecting to all. You're one with the book. You're in the book, whatever you want to call it. So everyone's got this skill. You just don't give yourself any credit for it. And that's why you need a little kick in the butt to trust that you've already got it all.
I think we should do an angel conference, Joan, with Portal to Ascension.
Well, I think we should. We have enough angels around, and everyone has, what's so interesting, Michael, is everyone has a different way to connect with angels. You started through your photography and through this energy that showed up in your living room, right, as the angel joy. But people do have all these other different ways to connect as well. Now, okay, see this?
4 archangels with 3 more off camera. I cropped it. But Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, Uriel in there, and they're not circles. A lot of people like to just say orbs.
They're not UFOs either. They're not saucers. Okay, wait.
I asked about UFOs one time without getting into my details. Let's just say I had a little experience. And angels were like,
what did the UFOs, did they come to you, the ETs?
I just happened to see a couple lights that were definitely not human. And the bottom line is I asked angels about it and I was told, just leave it alone. You're protected. Don't worry about the details. Here's all the archangels together. I don't think I've ever shown this one on a show before.
Let's see. Can we make that full?
Can you raise that a bit? Let's see.
I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing our reflection. The lights? Are we looking
at and it's real.
Those lights are not my camera.
No.
Okay, so I thought that there was something wrong with the screen for a minute.
No, and I'll show a fairy instead. That's easier. It won't blow up so bad. There's a fairy named Ginger.
How do you know her name is Ginger?
Hey, so how do you know a good cup of coffee is a good cup of coffee? How do you know when you're listening to another person at the supermarket? And that's just basic introductions. You connect to the photo, you trust a few things, you get your energy flowing, you feel a hug, you feel some energy. You can ask for flowers. You ask for lavender. You're really into lavender. You smell lavender. At some point, you let go on all the questioning that's blocking up here. It's like a good golf game. How do you get your swing going and start kicking butt and chewing bubblegum at the same time? You got to let go and get in the flow. If it's athletics, it's whatever we're talking about. But once you start to realize you're transacting, especially like questions, your psyche, when you realize you can get any answer to any question for career, relationships, your personal development, whatever you're into, that's when your psyche goes, okay, I really want those answers. And it kind of gets behind the process long enough that you stay open, you start to get the hugs, you start to see. And some people shut down again like 6 days later just because the ego's like, whoa, we're not used to this much unconditional love. That's not going to happen again if I've got any say about it. That's your ego talking. But once the jig is up and once you burst out of, kind of the ego's hold, you can repeat it again. It might be another year before you do it. It's up to the individual. I can't be with a person 24/7. I try to stay out of it as much as possible. I don't even get into the topics. I ask a person to pick a fruit name to represent their topic. If it's about leukemia, cousin Fred, their career stuff, they just say watermelon, papaya, or blueberries. So I make sure they get enough servings of blueberry. How about that?
Great.
It's any answers to any questions, all languages, all dialects. I've been collecting different testimonials from different countries. I just got an Italian one. Woman was wonderful.
But so do you think more and more people now are opening up to the angel realities?
Yes.
And why do you think that? Are you getting stories?
I think it's time for mankind. Just again, a little more gentleness, a little more compassion. I mean, let's go over the definition of compassion for a second. I've been collecting definitions of compassion. No two definitions have been the same. I've stuck them all over my website, my social media. I love it when Mother Teresa says compassion is like a deep breath for many, because this is about slowing down and being in your heart. There's a lot of us that aren't going to do that for at least 6 months straight at a time. If I'm working in a big city, I think I've got a lot of roles, responsibilities, tasks, and stress, and you don't understand my situation. I don't have time to breathe. So for many, a deep breath is as close as you're going to get to any of this. But compassion, let me give you another one. Compassion is all. I think Jesus said this one. All moments, each breath, breathe, feel, be, see with the heart, all of it.
Now, let me ask you another important angel question. What is the substance? How many angels on the head of a pin, I guess you can ask. But what are they actual, not physical because they're energetic, but what are they, or is it all projection of the infinite mind, or is there a
Sure. They come in all shapes and sizes, all different colors, all different backgrounds, all different sorts of roles in terms of their specialties. They do have specialties. You can see them as full-on human. You can see them in more Obi-Wan Kenobi 1977 when he was fizzly after he had been chopped down in Star Wars. So you see them in your backyard. They look very real, but it's different than a human showing up that's an angel, sparkly eyes holding open the coffee shop door for you. Maybe you were meant to talk to them, maybe not. You can see them as a little ball light here, but to go hardcore on the question, I'd argue it's all interdimensional, it's multidimensional, it's the universe, it's the intersection of all, it's light.
Some people say angels are beings that never incarnated. They've always known the infinite source, so they've never had to come into form. Do you believe that?
Hey, there are some that have not actually physically come down in human form. There are others who might have done a stint. I mean, it would be like a person's past lives. There's plenty of people who get really into those details and have to have all 28 of them or 75 of them listed out, and they're going to spend 6 months on it. I mean, in any which direction you can get caught up. I love the fact that people can get any answers to any questions. So I think that's the big pull or draw. A good American these days wants their answers. They should have their answers. Yeah. But at the same time, the act of letting go to get those answers is the big shebang. I mean, I think it's great. You can have 48 pages of answers. And probably 3 months later, it's not useless. You've poured through the answers. If you're a business person, you've acted on them. But then everything's changed again. You want more answers. It's the act of letting go and trusting your heart. Like, when was the last time any of us went to a mirror and said, I love you? Like out of Angela, Angel-A, that Luc Besson movie, black and white in Paris from 10 years ago or whenever. It's a beautiful guardian angel movie. But an exercise in the movie is saying, I love you to yourself. I mean, it's hard enough to get off the iPhone and say, I love you to your pets, your kids, your loved ones, and to do it enough and to be in the moment. Forget all this angel stuff. That's the challenge. Is we got a ton of thinking, technology, distractions, this, that. How often you might live on the beach? How often are you walking on the beach and actually doing it? Florida, when I lived there, none of us went to the beach. So right in front of you all the time.
So do you feel like they're here to help humanity here now? Are they here to help us individually or collectively?
Yes.
Do they give you clues about how to handle the things that are going on here on our planet?
Yes, to help us navigate it all, to help us navigate once you've discovered sort of the difference between thinking, awareness, that's when your personal unique life path hardcore kicks in. And that's what's a wonderful bit of exploring to do. You signed up for some sort of special journey here, whether you knew it or not. And it's not my place to tell you a thing about it. I stay out of those details, but angels start kicking out some good detail. Plus, you can go back in time and ask, why did you get the brown shoes, not the blue shoes that birthday? I'm being facetious. But you can ask why your life took a certain path that it did, why the relationship then. Everything is about learning, if you ask me. A lot of it seems painful, an illness or this or that, something happened that was tragic. But to me, all of it is your instruction. All of it is more love. All of it is your gateway or your entrance point to that opening.
And it all begins with asking.
Yeah. And something that came up this year that's from an angel named Charlotte, like Archangel Michael, Charlotte, and Rebecca are my business managers. But she said, ask more. I mean, let's do it this way. Pretend it's a little box, and from the box you can get any answers. You can get a hug, you can get healing, you can ask for anything, you can see angels directly. We are so linear and so stuck in routine and so stuck, generally speaking, and we might not know it. You'd think you're perfectly happy at a certain level of existence, but there's always more love and always more to experience and always more to flow in interactions with other people. It's soul to soul level contact when you bump into a total stranger. So that stuff is what makes the world go round. It's, love. It's the living moments happen when you're in your heart, but good luck with that. I'm talking 2 hours a day max extra living in your heart. I'll quote an angel on this. 7% less thinking is the max that's in the cards for humanity right now. You're not going to ditch your thinking, go enlightened, start levitating around and, yell kumbaya. We're talking just 7% less thinking a week. I don't have a calculator, but I think it's like just under 2 hours a day. Find something that you're thrilled about each day. Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. You can meet Joe. But find something to just, whether it's yoga, reading, going for the walk in no particular direction. Ask the angels to catch you, not off guard, but to beat your defenses, to penetrate in with that butterfly made out of light that's not real, that your jaw drops on and you go, okay, something just happened. Holy cow, what was that? Or it's a stranger waving hi who says just what you were thinking yesterday and what you needed to hear today. And that was an angel doing a little drive-by from a Corvette top down.
So if you don't hear it right away, then the key is what? To keep
Yeah, don't judge. Don't judge it. Yeah. Feel what you feel. Don't judge, but allow for more in each moment. Allow angels to do their job. I love saying this to Americans. Let angels do their job. Get out of your head, get into your heart, park it up here, and just let them do their jobs. There's some way that resonates usually that people are like, oh, that kind of makes sense. Name an activity where you actually let go of all your words and structure and what you know. There's got to be something. Brushing your teeth, falling asleep at night on a good night. There's at some point people let go. That's all this is. There's no level of difficulty. No level of difficulty whatsoever. It's that simple.
Right. Well, from my experience, it is true that the harder I try, it's like I can't really try. The information is going to come only when I'm like subtly hearing it and willing to hear. But when I force it, I don't get it. It comes on a different kind of timing for me.
Yeah. And let's mention something else. Let's go in a different direction. Chakras, auras, consciousness itself is light. But I like to use, unconditional love, universal love. You can see that, not just Celestine prophecy style this way. In India, they do it this way. See the flow of light between your fingers. We did it before the show. I just held my finger up. I did a lighter first.
Do it again for people.
Well, I just did a lighter first. I said, hey, name any color you see in the regular good old American lighter here, a Bic lighter. Is it
Hot
white,
pink,
gold, yellow, pick a color. Then I held my finger up. Tina nailed it right away and saw my light coming off my finger. And I shortcut. I use that to shortcut having to show people their energy. It takes 15 minutes. I've done that for 3,000 people. But here's what I'm getting at. So you see your aura, you see your energy. It's the same energy you use at an airport when you pick up a loved one. You see them in the crowd. They can't hear you, but your eyes connect. You're excited. There's that transmission, Buddhist style, the leaf or flower sermon. And whatever that energy is what we're talking about here. You're surrounded in it. You're flowing it all the time. When you think too much, it either shrinks or you're doing the other side of the picture, a little bit of negativity. And welcome to being human. These are eternal questions. We'd be debating this 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years in the future. There's love, and then there's unlove. So we're talking about seeing love, and you can see consciousness. You can, if someone else has owned it, and you each put your finger out, you're each half of the glow stick. You can see the light flowing between you. So pretend the chefs in the kitchen at the 5-star hotel are actually getting along. They can see the light flowing between all of them. Ballerinas who are getting along. Good luck with that. But how about bandmates that are really rocking it out? You can see their light between them flowing. And what I love is when people put their hand out, obviously you can feel the touch. That's a basic. We can do that today. Anyone can feel someone else's hand. And then they can maybe feel the heat an inch or two out. But what's cool is when you start to see the light flow and you start to back up. You go a tennis court away and you're still feeling and seeing the light. And when you go to the distance of one end of a Target or a Walmart into the other, or a soccer field, and you're still seeing the light, that is where it starts to get wild and just short circuits everything you know. And then ask for an angel to make a butterfly out of that light stream that comes out, and you're actually looking at a butterfly.
So, Michael, is your life happier because of this discovery? Has it shifted? I guess you're doing your purpose, right? Turning people on to this.
Yeah, but I mean, you're at where you're at. So whether I was happier or less happy before, how would I know? I mean, I thought I was perfectly good. You always think you're perfectly good, hopefully. So yes, it's more open. It's more curious. I'm learning a lot more about humanity now. There's 8 billion people with 8 trillion ways of operating in any given second. And most of that cancels each other out. That's the value of thinking and structure. I'm not knocking any of it. I wouldn't want to change a single person's thought. I want to be encouraging and just suggest, hey, park it for a little bit. Pump the brakes at least. Slow down to 5 miles an hour instead of 155. Most of us are in a mind Ferrari doing figure eights and donuts in a parking lot. We never leave the parking lot to live a little more. It's the Plato's Cave. It's Peaceful Warrior, the deleted scene where Nick Nolte, the actor, who's Socrates, is walking Dan Millman to the bus stop, and he looks over at all the people at the bus stop and says, some of us actually never start living. That's what this is about, is a chance to go way beyond anything you thought. Picture it this way. You haven't had a true love in a long time. You meet your true love. You're hearing bluebirds sing. You're like, oh, pointy bird, oh, pointy bird. That's the equivalent of what this is about, is just falling in love with life again and recognizing that whatever you thought your peak was when you were 14 playing that flute or jazz instrument, the trip to Tahiti, you thought you lost it somehow. Life got tough, constricted. I'm going to argue you've been a constant the whole time. That inner peaceful, fearless warrior thing, whatever it is. And that's all this is reconnecting with your own flow, learning that all the millions of reasons your ego, other people's structure is saying it's not possible, it's gone in a second. You realize, hey, it's no different than you drinking a beautiful glass of water. One moment, all moments can be the same. Good luck with this, but all moments truly can be the same. Wonderful. And again, good luck with this, because we all have to pay the bills. There's stress. Mention a political party, mention that country, this country, or that neighbor down the street is a jerk, doesn't put their trash cans out.
Or
we all know.
Baseball team. Yeah.
And does that kind of keep our frequency lower, so we're not calling in the angelic realms at that time when we're focused on so much of that?
Yeah, that's where you get caught up. I mean, I love the climate thing because I got stunned by another one of those big picture questions. An angel once said, it's not like, relax, people. It's not up to humans about the whole climate thing. It's not up to humans to fix anything. And that still stuck with me 7 years later. I'm like, wow, that's deep. Because I'm not saying you and I are all opening a factory and we want 25 smokestacks instead of 7. That's not what this is about. And this isn't about asking questions where to go to rob the next bank. You'll get told to move on. But there's a greater opportunity before us all, and that is growing your own love, your ball of light. If you're a ball of light, let's do it this way. You're a ball of light. I'm not a fan of Castaneda, the guy from the 70s,
I'm
80s.
a fan of Castaneda.
I like one of his metaphors, though. The ball of light thing, I love it. But otherwise, it's a lot of Toltec stuff. So
What's wrong with, okay.
no, there's nothing. Don Miguel Ruiz, I hope he's doing great on the recovery. I love his stuff. But the ball of light thing, how do you flow more love? How do you allow for more love? How do you even feel more love in the midst of all the reasons you shouldn't? There's all the externals that say you shouldn't. There's a war in the Ukraine. There's this, there's that. So let's go back to the thing I said just before Alan got on, which is you can be happy in this very moment for no reason whatsoever. That alone tells you you've got thinking. Yeah, you've got thinking going on, because your thinking is going to be like, yeah, but, and it's got a checklist. But what about my dog? He's sick. And what about that neighbor? And what about, I just lost my favorite shirt. It got ruined in the laundry. How could I possibly be happy right now?
Why are you not a fan of Castaneda, though? I'm just curious.
I mean, look, I've read all his books. I thought it was great. It seemed more about trying to get into those other interdimensional stuff. I loved his description of a ball of light. If a person's stuck, I touch them. If it's physical and in person, I'll touch them on the shoulder to get them over the fence. But I love Zoom. Zoom works just as well. There's no time and space. I'll put my hand out. You can see an angel in my hand, a pink ball of light. You put your hand out on your side and bloop, and yeah, here, if anybody wants to give it a go, but this is pushing it.
Okay, let's push it.
Just see if you can see. Here's joy. Ask joy to make it nice. Get out of your head into your heart. If you want to put your hand up first like it's a fireplace, feel some energy off this photo. Just feel a little sparkle, a little vibe, a little heat in your hand.
Something, actually.
Yeah, so there you go. So you're over the hump. Ask her for a hug meanwhile and get it on your back or the back of your neck or right arm, left arm. Goosebumps, yummy in the tummy. There's a million ways to get a hug and get a little energy whoosh or bump. And then the number one question I've had people do as a starter question for 11 years is, hey, Joy, what do I need to know in life right now? But not out loud, from your heart. Leave your eyes on her, let her do her job, and leave your eyes on her and just be like, hey, Joy, what do I need to know right now? If you're stuck a little or you're worried about listening to an angel, you're going to hear breathe, relax, let go. You've got this. She's got a high, peppy voice.
Do you want me to tell you what she just said to me?
Please.
She says, you are loved. You don't have to do anything to be loved.
I love it. And that's totally true. It's a constant. And Alan just hit the home run for the whole show.
Sweet.
That's the theme of the whole show is you've got it all right now. Good luck believing it. Good luck listening long enough, or good luck pumping the brakes on your Ferrari up here to actually appreciate and allow in this very moment. And then as soon as you pry open one moment, you realize it's all that matters is the moment. There is no time and space. That's the whole, what do we call it today? Manifesting or allowing or whatever. I'm not into the manifest. Can you get out of your own way to bring in what you actually think you want? Learning to just go with the flow more and get out of your own way is what 90% of this is about.
Amazing, amazing. I can't believe the hour went so fast.
Joan,
I feel like we can all get out and just start to call them in. I think this is a wonderful time. It's the holiday season. And I think
one quick thing is just listening to angels is a 15-minute read. I saw Balls of Light as I was typing it, but if you think I wrote it, thank you very much. It was total 100% angels. They'll tell you that. The epilogue is the best. I think I put a couple pages up for free on my website. Go to my social media. You can find the whole thing. But it's a super short book. You meet 7 angels that way, 7 photos of angels in there.
perfect. What else? Do you have anything else you want to leave us with?
No, that's it. I mean, the website, social media, I try to put way too much material in there. So go poke around if you're curious, have fun. You don't need me. You don't need any of the institutes, anything else. Obviously, go buy Dan Millman's books and go to Omega, go to Kripalu, go to 1440, do them all. But when you want to have a direct experience, just grab the universe directly.
You are definitely the publicist for the angelic realms. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Well, let's play afterwards, and then maybe you guys will do a little 2-minute intro for this segment with what happened after the show.
What happened? Oh, you mean what's going to happen?
What's going to happen, Alan?
Oh, what do you think is going to happen?
I don't know, but Joan experienced it before the show, so we're doing a lot of now before, after, during stuff, and Joan had a little taste.
And so, Alan, we're going to be going out of this world. Okay, guys, we just want to thank Michael Andre Ford for coming on with all of his angels, his guides, and this really upbeat message that we do not have to despair. We're not alone. They just are actually there waiting for us to call them. So we will have Michael's links below. You'll all be able to see him. And I don't know, Michael's an angel too. I wonder if you can ask to see Michael come to you. They might think they might be confusing you as Archangel Michael, but I have a feeling that you probably show up in people's living rooms too. But that is a story for another day.
But Joan, are people watching this program going to have an experience too? I mean, Michael, I'll ask you that. Would you expect?
Hey, that's the big question mark. What will you allow for in any given moment? A lot of us won't even watch the old black and white TV stuff anymore. It's got to be news, or getting off the iPhone and giving a hug to your dog. That's asking a lot these days. So what will you allow for is the question.
I love it. All right, Michael, we'll see you in the back room. We'll see you on the other side, in every place, and really appreciate this incredible wisdom. Allen, is that amazing?
Another out of this world interview.
Is it out of this world? So when I come out later, I think we ought to sit around and just ask them to show up.
Yeah.
And even grab a camera and see what we can do, because if anyone can at least call angels, we should be able to call some angels too. What do you think?
Great, thanks. This is another one in our famous series that Joan and I are doing with extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, angels, anything out of this world.
Right?
Is welcomed on the show.
Is welcome on the show, including Alan and Joan. All right. Guys, you can check out Alan's NewRealities TV. We put the links during the show for you. We have them below. You can check out Joan of Angels as well. And let's get ready.
And thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Thank you so much.
Get better
soon, and being with us.
And Patricia and Geraldine. And well, anyway, all the people that tuned, and SB's been
Sam's been on the longest, just to mention him. He started out in the very, very beginning. Guys, we love seeing you here. We didn't ask where you're from in the physical because we wanted to know where you are from the celestial realms today. So
ask your angels. That's what I say.
Ask your angels where you're from. Ask them for help.
If you're not in touch with your angels, ask Joan of Angels, because she's like a medium between the angel realm.
I love it. I love it. I love all the support we all get and give for each other. Guys, you have a fun time getting out of this world today. Check with your angels, and I think the world's going to be a better place.
Thank you, Joan. See you soon.
I know, we love everyone. All right. So happy. So upbeat after talking to Michael, too. Right?
Yes, I'm glad. I wanted to do that for you, kind of shift the vibration and open up the world.
Sweet. Okay. All right. Gotta love you too. All right. Bye for now, everyone. We'll see you on our next episode of Out of This World with Joan and Alan.
Thank you.